What's up, guys? So here is the balance patch for Season 8 of Marvel Rivals. Now, I heard some of the things that were mentioned in the dev vision already, and I heard a few names that I wanted to hear. A few, but not a lot. It sounds like it might be an interesting patch, but because I heard some very weird names. I don't know why I heard them mention Squirrel Girl in this, I'm gonna be honest with you. Spider-Man did not need a buff either, so I don't know, but hey, let's take a look and see what they actually did with some of these characters. The name that I was the most happy to hear though was Emma Frost. I got my 2 cents on Emma Frost, so I gotta see what they actually did, but yeah, let's get into this. So starting off with the tanks, we got Tank Pool getting nerfed. So then he has reduced the Banhammer gun form ultimate ability, healing provided while active from 50 per second to 25 per second. And they also reduced Dual Desert Eagles, reduced shot damage from 36 to 34 standard and 42 to 39 when upgraded. There are some characters in this game that I'm gonna be honest, I feel like they over nerfed mainly because of what the community keeps saying about them. They hear the names come up a lot and they just keep nerfing and nerfing and nerfing. I feel like Tankpool might be one of those many characters because I know he's been talked about for being very strong, very OP, but for the last couple balance patches, we've had a lot of nerfs to Tank Pool already, and I don't know if nerfing his damage was necessarily needed. It's fine to have characters that are still recent in the meta. I don't feel like this was really necessary. I don't know if that's just me, but I don't really play this character a lot. I don't really like Tank Pool like as a tank to play personally, but I need to know, those of you that actually play Tank Pool, do you think this was necessary? I don't know, maybe this is just my opinion, but y'all let me know how that is. Next up, we got Emma Frost. Now, Emma Frost is my personal main for tank. So I was actually happy to see this buff, and I have some very serious points to make about Emma. Emma is also one of those many characters that has been getting nerfed and nerfed and nerfed and nerfed ever since she got released, to the point where she literally fell out of the meta and was damn near considered one of the worst tanks in the game for a little bit. Like, I don't think that was necessary to nerf her that many times, and she's one of those characters where whenever she got buffed, there would always be people who were on the fence and complaining about it, like, why are they buffing Emma? Why are they buffing Emma? As a personal person that loves playing Emma Frost, I think these specific buffs that they gave her were actually needed. So Telepathic Pulse Fall Off now begins 4 seconds, was 3 seconds before after not hitting an enemy. This was one of those buffs that I've been wanting for Emma because ever since I got into her, I've always felt like the fall off was very quick paced. Like the second I lose sight of any enemy, it's like all of my charge goes away. And it's like, I feel like that's unnecessary because Emma Frost's damage output is not a lot when you're just using the beam. Like, if you really want to kill things, you have to literally go into your diamond form. And you'd want to save that for a really important team moment. So I don't think it's a bad thing to just give her a little bit of extra time with the beam. Next buff was reduce Mind Aegis reposition cooldown from 3 to 1 seconds. That's the shield. Now this is another big buff that I've been wanting ever since I took up Emma. I've noticed that Emma is a character that you need to micromanage a lot in her role. She is one of those tanks where you need to be aware of so many things, and that shield is one of the most clutch things in her kit. Now, you can block ults with that shield like Iron Man or Magneto, and sometimes you would have the shield put up to block incoming damage from, say, a poke to try to protect your backline or something, and you put up the shield, but you immediately hear, like, right after you put up the shield, maximum! Yeah, I don't have any option to counter that because I just put up my shield, and even though my shield has almost full health in that instance, I can't reposition it because, hey, 3-second cooldown after I place it. I don't understand why that's a thing. Now, I don't necessarily think it should have a cooldown sometimes, but I can understand why they have a cooldown on it, but 3 seconds was just too much. So changing it to 1 second, I honestly, one of the most wanted things I wanted for Emma for a long time. And then we have increased damage reduction gained during diamond form and psionic seduction, ultimate ability from 20% to 25%. Now this I'm not mad at either, because really and truly, I don't think they needed to nerf her damage reduction the last patch, I think. I don't remember if it was Season 7 or Season 7.5, but they didn't need to nerf her diamond form damage reduction at all, if you ask me. And giving it back the 25%, I am all for that. I think these buffs were definitely necessary. Don't get in my comments talking about, oh, Emma's broken now. That, bro, let's watch it play out. But at the very least, this is just gonna bring her back into the meta as a tank. I honestly been wanting these buffs. I've been wanting these buffs. But I don't want to hear a single person get into the comments talking about, oh, Emma Frost didn't need a buff, didn't need a buff. Please don't do this, woman, like they did with friggin' Gambit or friggin' Invis. I have to talk about Invis, by the way, after this. I need to talk about Invis as well. Alright, next up we have the Ting. The Ting. Alright, so increase base health from 700 to 750. Interesting. I mean, okay, I'm fine with that. I mean, I don't know if it was needed. Like, I think he was okay with 700, but I mean, 750, I mean, I ain't gonna cry over that. I mean, the thing isn't like OP or anything, so I mean, 750 might just be an alright buff if you ask me. Side story, I've actually been taking up Black Panther recently. I am not good with the character right now, let's be real. But realizing that they just buffed the Thing when I'm actually starting to learn Black Panther, yeah, I don't think Bast is gonna be happy about this one. But nonetheless, hey, Thing mains, more power to y'all. So now we're moving on to the duelists. So the first name I'm seeing is Iron Fist, and bro, not gonna lie, that man's been needing a buff. He's been needing a buff. It's like he is more of a brawl than dive, but at the same time, he's still supposed to have some dive capabilities, and he just doesn't function well in that role really right now. So let's see what they did with him. So Jeet Kune Do, if I butchered that, I am so sorry. Hits now reduce the cooldown of Dragon's defense by 1.2 seconds, changed from 1 second before. Okay, so I'm assuming that's his parry when he goes ooh ooh. I think now his basic attacks, I'm assuming, is what's going to reduce the cooldown of that even more now. So if you're landing your hits, which, let's be real, you're going to be landing your hits, you're going to get the parry a lot quicker. Interesting, so they give him more survivability with that. And they increase Kunlun Kick's first strike damage from 35 to 40. So that's his kick. That's his kick that makes him dash into a certain direction and does a circular kick. Interesting. So they increase the damage from it. Right? That's what I'm getting from this. Okay, I mean, that's not bad. That's not bad. I mean, is it enough? I don't really know, but we'll have to see how it goes. But that's not bad if you ask me. Next up, we have Mr. Fantastic. This right here, this man's been needing a buff. Been needing a buff. So, increase stretch punch damage from 65 to 70. Nice. Remove flexible elongation's movement speed reduction effect. However, the charge time for each use has been reduced from 8 seconds to 6 seconds. Is that his ability where he pumps the character, basically, his sus ability? Interesting. So he has a less of a charge time on it, so he can have it more frequently. Okay, that ups his survivability rate a lot then. Okay, I can work with that. I didn't even really know that he had a movement speed reduction effect. That's new to me, personally. I've used him a couple times, but I don't really main the character, so that's interesting. And they reduced the energy cost of Brainiac Bounce ultimate ability from 3,400 to 3,100. His ultimate is still ass. Let's get that out of the way. His ult is still ass. That did not help his ult. I think, if I'm being honest, they need to add something, not just an effect, but they need to add some kind of mechanic to his ult to make it better, genuinely. Because all it's really good for is stalling the point, nothing else. I wouldn't say this was enough for Mr. Fantastic. I still think he's not going to really be a meta pick right now. But hey, slowly but surely, I guess, until we get to a point where he's good. Maybe, who knows. Next we have Moon Knight. So reduced Moon Knight's hook cooldown from 15 seconds to 12 seconds. Basically giving him more mobility. Okay, I'm not mad at that. That's okay. That's okay. It's not a crazy buff. Giving him a little bit more mobility, I can live with that. Nothing's wrong with that. Did Moon Knight need a buff? No, he didn't really need a buff, to be honest. But that's okay if you ask me. I can live with that one. And then we have Phoenix, good old Jean Grey. Now Phoenix is kind of strong already, so I feel like they're gonna be nerfing her in this. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence about Phoenix. I feel like she's in an okay spot right now. I don't mind her being really strong. She's definitely not as strong as she was before, so I don't really mind. So let's see what they did. Increase Cosmic Flame's direct hit damage from 50 to 55, reduce explosion damage when detonating spark marks from 40 to 35, and they also said that without damage buffs, Phoenix can no longer one-shot 250 health hero with a single mark plus direct hit from her Endsong Inferno. However, the increase to her primary attack makes her a far more threatening baseline in combat. So what I gather from this is they're trying to make her neutral a little bit more better-ish. Well, at the same time, they did nerf her Sparks, which were a big part of her AoE aspect. But that's interesting. They basically made it more of a, like, you have to hit more direct shots to get more value out of Phoenix. I don't even know how to feel about this buff, to be honest. Well, buff or nerf, I don't even know what I'd call this. Is this a buff or is it really a nerf? I don't really know what I'd call this. It's like an overall change-ish to, like, incentivize players to focus more on neutral and hitting shots. I think it's okay of a change, but I'm gonna have to see, like, what the community says after this, marinates in Season 8 for a little bit, because I don't know how to feel about this. Honestly, I really don't know how to feel about this one. So next up we have Peter Parker himself. Now, I did not even expect to see this one, but let's see what they did with him. Increase spectacular spin damage per single spherical spell field from 13.6 to 15. Total damage over the 2-second duration increased from 408 to 450. They buffed his ult. Yeah, still don't think Spider-Man needed a buff. I really don't. But, I mean, it's not a crazy buff, but at the same time, I just don't think it was necessary. Spider-Man is already really and truly, for those that can use him at least, he might be the best dive character in the game right now. And that's something that we don't really want to make even worse than it already is. And Spider-Man is one of those characters where I genuinely respect anybody that mains Spider-Man and actually can use him. But we don't want this guy to be terrorizing our lobbies, bro. I'm a friggin' Storm player. I don't want to friggin' go up against Spider-Mans and get one shot every friggin' time. I really don't. So yeah, I'm not much of a big fan of this buff per se, but let's see how this goes when the actual season comes out. Alright, so next up we have Doreen! Why are you here? Oh no, bro. So what did they do this time? Reduce the cooldown of Mamal Bun from 15 seconds to 12 seconds. Isn't that her jump? Isn't that her bounce? That's her bounce. Bro. Squirrel Girl did not need that, bro. Bro, here's the thing with... She literally has an ability that refreshes the cooldown of her bounce. She does not need her bounce to be buffed. What? Why is... Nah, somebody on the dev team needs to get fired for this. I don't care. Nah, that's crazy. That's actually crazy. Buffing Squirrel Girl? Doreen! Let me keep my composure. Let me keep my composure. Alright, so they buffed Doreen. I'm not happy about this. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not happy about this. I absolutely hate this damn rodent. I hate this damn rodent. I hate her.
A lot.
Okay, you know what? Moving on. So now we have Star-Lord. Increase the ammo capacity of element guns from 40 to 50. Okay, I like that. I like that, actually. I actually like that one. Not gonna lie, that's a good buff. Yeah, that's a good buff. Like, I just like that. Like, Star-Lord, I've kind of always kind of liked Star-Lord's like kit per se, but I've never really been able to really get into using him, because the main thing that makes me not really like using him is, well, the ammo capacity. It literally have to be reloading like a lot with Star-Lord. Like, and sometimes even when I get in a full clip, it doesn't feel like it does much. So this, I'm actually liking this. I like this buff. This is a W for Star-Lord players, definitely. I have no problems with this. And lastly, we have Wolverine. Reduce the trigger cooldown of regenerative healing factor from 105 seconds to 90 seconds. So they buffed his passive. I like that. I can live with. This is a good buff. All right, Star-Lord and Wolverine. Yeah, I like those two buffs. Definitely good buffs in my opinion. I'd say those two DPSs could have used it. I mean, I'm not gonna complain about those two buffs at all. I'm definitely not gonna complain. Personally, I think those are good buffs. Now, moving on to the strategists. Now, this is where it gets important. We need these buffs and nerfs to be like this. We need good buffs and nerfs for these characters. We can't just... Strategist is probably the most important role when it comes to balancing, so let's see what they actually did. And the very first name, you guessed it, Invis. So, they reduced force physics push distance from 12 meters to 10 meters and damage from 55 to 50. Oh my god. Okay. Remember what I said in the beginning when I was talking about Emma Frost? How they have these certain characters that they really and truly be nerfing to the ground when they really don't need to be doing any more than they already have? Yeah, I think we've reached that point with Invis where we are now doing too much. We're doing way too much because every single time a balance patch comes out, I'm hearing about a new Invis nerf. Why are we doing this to this poor woman? She has a family, people! Like, come on. We don't need to nerf force physics at all, to be honest with you. Like, I feel like the main thing people were complaining about before was her shield. They nerfed her shield to the ground already. Do we really need to be doing all of this? Because Invis isn't even like... She's obviously good. She's still good. Don't get me wrong. But I don't think it was necessary to give her another nerf. And if I see one more nerf for this character, I'm gonna actually call it the community's fault. Like, well, it already is the community's fault. All these people do is just talk about the characters that they have the hardest time playing against and preach it all over the internet. So when Guang Guang hears about it and sends that info to Zhihong or whatever, yeah, they target nerf these characters and it just doesn't end well because they over nerf them without actually considering what the specific level that they are at in the meta is at the moment in time. So I don't think this was a necessary nerf at all for Invis, and I think they need to really go back and review this character and actually probably give her a few buffs to make up for all the nerfs that she's been getting, to be honest. Literally the Emma Frost situation, if you ask me. Alright, so now we got Loki, the god of mischief himself. So, they increased Illusion's mystical missile healing ratio from 90% to 100% and reduced Illusion's mystical missile damage ratio from 90% to 80%. They also increased energy cost of God of Mischief, his ultimate ability, from 4,300 to 4,500. Okay. So essentially they're basically nerfing his damage and increasing his healing output. Fair enough. I can see that. And increased his energy cost on his ult. I mean, I don't know if I'd say it was necessary, but maybe they did that specifically because of the whole Gambit Loki comps. Because, you know, if Gambit gets his ult, Loki gets his ult, they're both getting double Gambit ult, and, you know, it's going to be a very hectic situation because Gambit ult increases the rate of getting ult charge, so it's going to be a lot of, you know, a lot of Gambit ults for that game. So maybe this is the reason why they had that implemented. So I can kind of understand why these slight nerfs came into Loki's vicinity. I'm not mad at it. I think they gave him a nice buff with the healing in order to make up for that. So yeah, I'm perfectly fine with Loki's changes. Alright, so next up we have Mantis. And we saw this one in the dev vision. So they reduced allied inspiration damage boost provided to allies from 12% to 8%. And added a new effect where she now provides a flat 100 movement speed boost to allies. Now this, I'm actually definitely happy about this one. I think Mantis kinda needed this little change because there have been more supports like Ultron, as they just mentioned in the thing, that you have other supports that can basically do what Mantis does already, you know? So making her able to like add on that extra speed boost kind of adds to her overall uniqueness in the support tree. And yeah, I think that's a good buff to give her, personally. Yeah, they nerfed the damage boost and all, but I think the movement speed is a definite make up for that. because hey, it's good for dive heroes and it's really good to, you know, mix up the kit a little bit, because Mantis is a lot of, you know, hyperactive abilities and passives. I really like Mantis, and I think this was definitely a deserved buff. Alright, next on the list we have Rocket Raccoon. Now before I read this, I really want for them to do something about his movement speed on the walls. I never liked that nerf when they did it back in, I don't even know what season. I think it was season 6. Like, I really want them to buff his movement speed on the walls back. I heard them say in the division that they buffed his ult, but I really don't want his ult to be buffed. I just want his movement to be buffed. So let's see what they did. Increase bombard mode hit damage per projectile from 16 to 17. They increased repair mode charges from 8 to 10. I'm thinking that's his right click. And they reduced the energy cost of CYA from 4,300 to 4,000. Okay. Now, I'm gonna say this. I do not think any of these changes for Rocket were necessary. I'm gonna be honest, I do not think any one of these changes for Rocket were necessary. Why? His left click, which is what they buffed first, the damage on his left click is abysmal already. I don't think it's well known already. Well, it's probably well known by the people that actually use the character and have seen it for themselves. That character shreds with his left click, bro. Like, if you've ever shot a sitting still target and just landed a bunch of headshots with his left click, they die in less than a second, bro. He has a faster time to kill than most DPS. That's crazy, bro. They did not need to buff that damage output, bro. They really didn't. And then they increased the charges on his right click. Rocket already has enough charges on that right click, bro. He's got a very good healing output, if you ask me. Like, giving him more on his ammo is not really necessary, if you ask me. And then they reduced the energy cost of his ult. Here's the thing with this. When you're reducing the energy cost of certain characters' ults, it takes away from the purpose of you changing up the gameplay style to not revolve around ultimates. So reducing the charge of his ultimate isn't really necessary, if you ask me. I think, yes, you should be focusing more on the neutral play, which is what they seemed to be trying to do here, but they didn't do the things that they needed to do for Rocket. The thing that Rocket just needs right now is better mobility. They nerfed his mobility in the last couple patches, and since then they haven't even touched his mobility. I don't think they need to be buffing his artillery or anything like that at all. It's perfectly fine the way it is. They just need to buff his movement. But yeah, I don't really like these changes for Rocket, to be honest, but hey, we'll see how it goes. See if anyone else agrees with me. So lastly, we have White Fox. So they said they were buffing her ultimate mainly in the dev vision. So let's see what exactly they decided to change about her. So increase healing amount provided by the surrounding aura during Fox form awakening from 25 seconds to 35 seconds. Reduce burst healing generated by each successful attack during Fox form awakening from 35 to 25. And dev note is, we've observed that White Fox's healing output in Fox form awakening state was too high when continuously attacking enemies, but too low when unable to maintain targets. This slightly lowers her intense burst healing when spamming attacks from 100 per second to 90 per second, but significantly boosts her passive healing aura when no targets are available from 25 per second to 35 per second. They also increased Blessed by the Nine healing to allies during Kumiho Unleashed ultimate ability from 40 per second to 60 per second. Interesting. So I get what they're saying with the whole increase the healing for the aura of the White Fox form, I think. Mainly because, yeah, like they said, if you weren't hitting anything, you were literally not getting any healing whatsoever. And if you were hitting anything, it was like you could out-heal most DPS that you were fighting against, which really shouldn't be the case. Let's be real. A support really shouldn't be able to just, 1v1 a DPS and win. Just because. So I think that's a fair enough change. They said that they increased the Blessed by 9 healing to allies during Kumiho Unleashed form. I'm assuming since they said Blessed by the Nine, that's supposed to be the right click in the alt form and not the aura, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but if it's the aura, I don't think it was necessary. But if it's the blessed thing, I think that was needed, because I recall a couple times when I felt like the aura wasn't really doing much in terms of healing the allies, and it's supposed to be a buff to the allies, and it's supposed to be something you're selectively doing. So I think if that's what they buffed, definitely a good buff for White Fox. But all in all, yeah, that's the balance patch. Alright, so here's like my overall 2 cents with this entire balance patch. Overall, like, not a bad balance patch, but not the best. This isn't gonna be like a game-changing balance patch, but because there were some things in here that were just weird to me, not necessary at all. But there were a few W's, but some just were not necessary. I'd have to say this is probably like a 5 out of 10 balance patch, if I'm being honest. Like, tank pull changes, not needed. Emma Frost changes, needed. Thing change, not really needed, but I'm okay with it. Iron Fist change, he did need a buff, but these were not the buffs he needed in my opinion. The parry buff was good, but the kick, not really all that, kind of underwhelming. Mr. Fantastic, buffs definitely needed, but they didn't really fix the actual problems with the character. Moon Knight buff, not needed, but I don't really mind it. Phoenix changes, I don't know how to feel about them, but I'm gonna have to see how it goes with the meta. Spider-Man changes, not needed. Squirrel Girl change, definitely not needed. Star-Lord change, fair, not really needed, but I like it personally. Wolverine change, needed, I think I'd say. Invis changes, definitely not needed. Loki changes, fair, I'd say it makes sense. Mantis changes, also makes sense. Rocket Raccoon, definitely not needed any of these changes. And White Fox, I understand most of it at the very least, yeah. So I'd say this is like a 5, maybe 4 or 5 of a rating. 4 or 5 out of 10 personally for this balance patch. Especially since I did not see Storm. I wanted to see Storm on this balance patch. I yearn for the day when Storm actually becomes meta. Personally, I really do yearn for that day. But until then, yeah, this was just a mid balance patch kinda, but I am definitely happy for the Emma Frost buff. That, in my opinion, is the golden buff and in the golden change in this entire balance patch, definitely. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the actual season getting released tomorrow, but we'll just have to see how all of these buffs like fit into the actual season. So yeah, let's see how that goes later on, and until then, later.